Good morning, girls. I am Mrs. R.ALAMELU, Head and Associate Professor of History, A.D.M. College for Women, Nagapattinam. Today we are going to see about historical background of human rights. This is the module 3. In the previous classes, we have seen about what are human rights and the classification of human rights and the various classification, political, civil and cultural rights. Today, this historical background, human rights are rights inherent to all human beings. That means it is for all. We are all equally entitled to our human rights without discrimination. Without discrimination means what? Without any distinction. Without any distinction of caste, creed, nationality, religion, etc. So, okay, this is the modern concept of our fundamental rights. But this concept has some historical background. Its roots lie in earlier tradition and documents of many cultures. The first thing we have to see about Cyrus Cylinder. Cyrus Cylinder means what? That is the origin of human rights. The origin of human rights started from 539 BC. In that year, Cyrus the Great, he conquered Babylon. In this struggle, he declared and he freed the slaves from prison. He declared all people had the right to choose their own religion and established racial equality. This provision, these principles, he declared the principles of human rights. These principles were recorded on a backed clay cylinder known as the Cyrus cylinder. This Cyrus cylinder is very famous, and these provisions are served as inspiration for the first 4 articles of the UDHR. UDHR means this Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was adopted in the year 1948. You know the difference between 539 BC. In the 539 BC, this Cyrus cylinder was declared or made by this Persian king Cyrus the Great. But now this UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in the year 1948. These principles, Cyrus cylinder, in which the principles declared by the Cyrus, the source of inspiration for the latest document. So, this is the Cyrus cylinder. It dates from 6th century BC and was discovered in the ruins of Babylonia in Mesopotamia. That means modern era, in 1879. It is currently in the possession of the British Museum. So, the next document, the most famous document of all times, that is another historical background, Magna Carta. What do you mean by Magna Carta? Magna Carta means the Great Charter, the English Charter. The English Charter that completely changed how monarchy controlled the law and gave people rights back. This new Magna Carta, which means the Great Charter, in this charter, the principle that everyone is subject to the law, even the king. All are equal before the law. The Magna Carta declared all are equal before law. It also guarantees the rights of individual, the right to get justice and the right to a fair trial. So, this is a Charter of Rights signed by King John in June 1250 at Runnymede. This is the place where the charter was signed by King John. And what are the rights given by Magna Carta? This is the thing we have to see, very important. An important human rights document of all times. All times means from the ancient to the present. And this is the keystone of English liberty. It paved the way for evolution of common law in England. This common law for not only for England but for the whole world. And it also transfer of power from the king to the elected representatives of the people in parliament. So the Magna Carta established the right of the church to be free from governmental interference. In this point, you have to know about the religion and the government. There should not be any governmental interference in the right of the church. And the right of all free citizens to own and inherit property. That means you can buy and you had some property. And citizens to be protected from excessive taxes. This Magna Carta declared that the king had no power to collect excessive taxes. Okay. This evolution of Magna Carta. This Magna Carta was signed in the year 15th June 1250. This was granted by King John to the English barons. According to this charter, the privileges of the English barons could not be violated, encroached or violated. The king was bound to honor all the rights of the people should be given by the king, and he has the duty to honor. In case he fails to honor, the remedial measures of protecting the rights were also enshrined. This is the condition, this is the position of human rights up to the year 1250. And the next king, King Johnson Henry III, during 1216 to 17, this placed the Magna Carta in the parliament for approval. So the parliament accorded approval in the year 1297. So the evolution of Magna Carta means it was granted by King John, and King Johnson Henry III, he put this Magna Carta to the approval of the parliament. The parliament also accorded approval in the year 1297. Then it was elaborated in 1297 by Edward I during his time. So that the Magna Carta assertively put forth the principle that the power of the crown was not absolute. So the king is also subjected to the law that was provided by the Magna Carta. So the next we are going to see about the next important right, that is petition of right. Petition means what? The right to give your grievances. The second great charter of English liberties. This second great charter declared parliamentary superiority over the crown. That is, parliament is sovereign. The house of the people is sovereign. And it also illegal taxation, arbitrary imprisonment, billeting of soldiers and punishment by martial law were prohibited. According to this petition of right, this right prohibited illegal taxation. Illegal taxation means what? The king had no right to collect excessive taxation. And arbitrary imprisonment, what? No one can imprison anybody. And the billeting of soldiers means what? The soldiers should not be kept in a room. Should not keep in a room without their permission. And martial law, that is punishment by martial law. These are the things were prohibited by the petition of right. So this right, petition of right, give the people the right to petition the king. So this is a great landmark in the struggle between the king and the parliament. So let us see about the significance of the petition of right. What was the important significant matter in this petition of right? This is the first attempt to draw a definite line between prerogative and law. According to the English constitution, the king had some privileges, that means prerogative. And the law, you know, this law. And so there was a definite line. This is the petition of rights draw a definite line between prerogative and law. The first step, it was also another first step in the transfer of sovereignty from king to parliament. And this is a constitutional document. In British Constitution, we can see this Petition of Right, Magna Carta, Petition of Right, Bill of Rights. These are all the written documents found in the English Constitution. So, the famous Petition of Right. What are all the contents? What are all the contents of this Petition of Right? In England, since 13th century, petition to king, to draw a petition to king played a vital role in the judicial system of England. The House of Lords, you have studied about this, the Parliament of England. This Parliament of England consists of two houses. One is the House of Lords, another one is House of Commons. This House of Lords introduced an amendment to leave sovereign power entirely with the king. The House of Commons rejected the amendment. So, the royal assent, the Petition of Right had the royal assent to the following demands. No tax. That is, already I told you, the king had no power to collect excessive taxes. No tax, loan or gift of any kind to be levied without consent of the parliament. And no person to be imprisoned without cause shown. Without any, they have to show the reason for imprisonment. And billeting of soldiers and sailors on private persons to be stopped. And no person to be put on trial by court-martial in time of peace. And Petition of Right, another important document in British Parliament, that is Bill of Rights. In 1628, the Magna Carta was given a statutory status by the Parliament of England. It recognized the parliamentary superiority over the crown as far as the rights of the subjects were concerned. So, the Petition of Rights became Bill of Rights in the year 1689. This is the another important document of all times. Bill of Rights, a landmark act in the constitutional law of England. This is a great landmark. It declared the rights and liberties of the subjects as well as the king. It also settled the succession of the crown. And it was a key piece of legislation produced by the Glorious Revolution. In England, in the year 1688, the Glorious Revolution occurred. Why it was called as Glorious Revolution? Without any bloodshed, without any problem, the Bill of Rights was created. The virtually bloodless expulsion and abdication of James II. And this Bill of Rights declared William and Mary as King and Queen of England. It guaranteed a number of key political and civil rights like freedom of speech, the right to bear arms for Protestants, the right to petition the government for grievances. It also limited the powers of the king. What are all the powers were limited? The king can suspend and dispense with the laws was declared illegal. He had no right to suspend the laws and dispense the laws without the approval of the parliament. So, the next one is the king had some courts, prerogative courts. The prerogative courts were abolished by the Bill of Rights of 1689. And the taxation without parliament consent was prohibited. And raising or keeping a standing army in time of peace. That is in time of peace, calm. And in that time, raising or keeping a standing army was forbidden. The principle of parliamentary sovereignty and the rule of law were definitely established. This is the English Bill of Rights. Okay. There were some philosophers who propounded the importance of human rights to the world. The first person, Hugo Grotius, he was the father of international humanitarian law. And A.V. Dicey, he propounded this rule of law. And Thomas Aquinas and Sir Edward Coke, they assertively declared that human beings possess certain eternal and basic rights. The basic rights means equality before law, right to freedom of speech. These are all the eternal and basic rights. Okay, girls. The next thing in that historical background, there are many declarations and the constitution benches. Declarations and constitution benches of many nations supported the Bill of Rights by their exposition as the fundamental rights of their nationals. So, in that America, that is, America was discovered by Christopher Columbus, and 13 American colonies were created by England, and there was a revolution. In that revolution, there was a written document that was written in the year 1776. This was a famous one. 4th July 1776, the Americans, they declared independence by writing a document. And apart from that, Virginia Bill of Rights, they created their constitution. In that constitution, Virginia Bill of Rights, Constitution Right 1776, and the subsequent amendments and statutes recognize the fundamental rights of men and women. And this is the picture showed the Declaration of Independence in the year 1776. And the next important, that is, the age of revolution. The French Revolution in the year 1789 in France. This French Revolution accelerated the growth of human rights, especially by writings of Rousseau and Montesquieu in 1789. That is, one of the reasons for the French Revolution was the philosophers. The philosophers Rousseau, Montesquieu, they created awakening among the people. And at the end of the revolution, the French Declaration of the Rights of the Man was enacted. This document enumerated the human rights and also the provision for their protection. And what was the slogan of this French Revolution? Liberty, equality, and fraternity was the slogan of this revolution. So this is the document, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. It was written in France. Okay, the next we are coming to the 19th century. So far we have seen about from the ancient time, that is 539 BC we started. We come across 17th century and then 18th and 19th century. But in the year 19th, in the century of 19th, the beginning of rapid progress of human rights. So, the 19th century is the most important period. Why? The value of human personality and its worthiness were given much importance after this First and Second World Wars. The First and Second World Wars caused a great destruction. The loss of lives and the heinous crimes committed against humanity during these two wars. These two wars taught the world, the First World War and the Second World War, taught the world the human values, their dignity and moralities to kept at any cost. So the president, this Franklin Delano Roosevelt of America, proclaimed 4 freedoms. That is freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. Freedom means the supremacy of human rights everywhere. The next important thing, next important development in human rights, that is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was adopted by UNO. This Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the entire world must support those who struggle to gain these rights. The growth of human rights in the international sphere has gained a remarkable momentum through several treaties and covenants. The UNO, that is the United Nations organization, their main aim was protect the human rights at all times. So they adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the year December 10th, 1948. Every year, that is every year, December 10th, the UNO observes Human Rights Day. In this Human Rights Day, every year UDHR take a theme. On the theme, they adopted certain rights. And the year 1948, this UDHR was adopted. And apart from that, another important covenant, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, that was adopted in the year 1966. And the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, ICESCR. This is also adopted in the year 1966. So these three documents are called as the International Magna Carta of all mankind. That is International Magna Carta of all mankind. Thank you, girls.